Hello, my friends. I hope everyone's doing well. Middle of the week, almost. Hey, Jack. Nice to see you early in. You've been usually joining a little bit later. Are you busy with work or just late to the party? There we go. Hey, Nadia, Sue, Stephen. Lots of people here. Happy to see you. Nadia, I actually did I think you were the one who suggested it, that in the beginning I have these like random B-rolls I found. I don't actually know where I found them, but I found them somewhere. I think it was like one of those free B-rolls where people upload. And you said like, oh, you should film around where I work. And I just got I found a like DJI mini drone, like one of those film drones. Like it's an older version. Hey, Mats. And I flew around the lake where I work, and it looked beautiful. And it'd be really fun to do this. So I have different films. I had some now when it's not spring yet, it's just grey. But when it starts becoming spring and it becomes Sweden in May is insanely beautiful when all the trees start getting leaves, and it's just so green everywhere. Like we call it marzipan green. It's just beautiful. So I was thinking I'll film around the lake and then I'll use that before. But I need to, in Sweden they have a rule that if you film with a drone, you have to have a permission from the government. You literally need to send in the film and they need to check it and see that there's nothing of national security or something before you can show it somewhere. So I look into doing that. That would be really nice to have something a bit more personal. And it was just fun to do also. It's really interesting to see such a different perspective. See, Jackie says, time is well a currency now. Oh yeah, I know that feeling. You have small kids. Is it fun to, yeah, it is really fun to fly. I fly a lot of model airplanes, like big model airplanes with 50cc engines, basically moped engines in airplanes. And I fly FPV drones where you have a pair of goggles on and you see through the camera. That is really cool. And you can kind of go up and fly down trees and like it's much more acrobatic. But the quality is not like this. This is actually really good quality. It's almost like a film camera. It's incredibly good. But I sit and I watch it on my telephone, and it's like it's got GPS. If something goes wrong, you just press a button and it goes back. It's just incredible how, what you can do with these cameras and the drones. If that would have been 20 years ago, that would have been like mind blowing. Even now, I might be like, wow, this is insane. And if you find a used one, it's not a lot of money to buy something like that. It's really surprising how much camera you get for that kind of money. So I'll see if it's possible to I would love to include it in my videos also, but like I said, in Sweden they have really strict laws that you need to actually apply for all footage before you air it somewhere. I think even photos. There's exceptions. You can have a field if there's nothing that you can identify it with, but as soon as there's anything that can identify the place, it becomes a bit complicated. There we go. And also thank you everyone who answered the survey. That was really helpful. It's so funny. I started Christmas, I want to do a meditation course. I thought, what kind of course should I do? And then I was like, okay, I spoke to a lot of people, probably 10 people I spoke to, and got a much better understanding what people are struggling with. And then I took that, I said, I want people to have a place where they can connect, because one of the things I like so much about this group that we're meeting here is that it's like a small family. It's this incredibly, I get a bit teary-eyed almost. It's just such a nice group of people, and I'm so surprised all the time. I tell people about that, like how is that possible? How come like all these nice people come here? Because hey Christian, I hear so many people on YouTube complain that there's a lot of like people who are aggressive or other stuff, and I think they're just not attracted to this. So I wanted to create some kind of space where people can reconnect outside of this stream. But then also I have to be realistic, thinking about that it's not so many people. So, and I asked people what they wanted, and it seems like people are interested in finding a place where you can connect, But I think with as few people as we are, creating a big forum with different like sections and having, I had this idea that you could have practice logs, so you could put up, okay, I'm practicing, and then there's accountability. You could post and say, okay, I'm practicing now, and this week I ran into this, and people could say, oh, it happened to me as well, and I solved it like this. But I think that's too early, and it might be difficult to get people to feel comfortable with that right now. So instead, there will be some kind of chat place where we can do that outside of here. And then also, hey Luna, and then also workshops was something that people really requested, and I think that's a better idea than a course and better idea than a retreat right now, because a retreat requires a lot more preparation, and I've never done it online before, so I'm honestly not sure. I've done quite a few retreats in person, but I don't know how to take that and put it into an online space. So some kind of, I forgot the name now, not retreat, but workshop will also be happening in the future. And I've been having people who also wanted to work one-on-one with coaching, but I feel like it's a lot too much money. So something that I'm thinking about as well is doing group coaching. So instead of having just one-on-one, will be a smaller group. Because the planned monthly Zoom calls will not really be like group coaching kind of, and it's just once per month. It will be more like this, and people come up and you share things, and I can talk about topics, but other people can also. So it would be a meeting space. But a group coaching group would be quite different. Than we would actually work with everyone's situation, and we could go in more depth, and it would be something that's weekly, just as I do with the one-on-one coaching students. So it would be, yeah, I'm still thinking about how to solve that. And I also have to solve when it comes to taxes for the forum, because if you have a forum, technically speaking, I have to open up a tax account in every single country that someone pays me from. European Union is different because we have a system that you can use within here. But if I sell to someone in the States, I technically speaking have to open up some kind of tax account in the US. I mean, I'm not even sure how that works. There are ways around this by using a company who specializes in these kind of services, and they are the ones who sell it. So I pay them a fee, and then they sell it to that person, and they collect the taxes. So they pay the VAT. Taxes I pay in Sweden, but this is just really, really complicated. This is one of the reasons why it's a bit more work than I was hoping for. But I'm working on it, and I'm really looking forward to when that gets sorted out. Let's see. Kristen said, good evening, hi, and nice to see Kristen. Frozen. Any thoughts on nutrition and its effects on mindfulness? Meditation, as far as I know, a lot of practices implement fasting. Simple meals. How helpful do you think average American obesity diets are? Obesity is just bad in general, in many ways, from the perspective of your health. But I would say that from having meditated a lot and eaten different foods while I meditated, there is quite a big difference. So my thoughts on that is that if you want something that's really bad, it's sugar. Sugar is bad for your mind. It's bad for your health. Like, it's just bad for everything. I also find that fast carbohydrates are bad. I get calmer and more peaceful when I don't eat like white flour or sugar or things that really turn around fast. It worked really well in Sri Lanka when we had rice, paripu, lentils, and vegetables and curries and stuff like that. That worked really well, much better than eating a bowl of cereals in the morning. And I can feel that if I eat cereals that are sweet, my day is very different, and then my meditation is different. So basically, try to take away as much sugar as possible. Chocolate is no problem. Chocolate is really good. God damn it, it's not. But I wish it was, because chocolate is so good. But all of that sweet stuff, just take it away. I actually met one woman one time who suffered from like severe, what do you call it, psychosis, which she just like, yeah, can't remember if she had schizophrenia. I think she just had severe psychosis and up and down manic behavior. And she said that she cured herself by stopping wheat, sugar, and then she ate like magnesium, and I think, I don't know, I can't remember, don't take me for that. But she changed her mental illness by changing her food. And I think a lot of people, also for my fiance, she says as well that when she's sugar and chocolate and sweets and eats it, she has a thing for crisps. Don't tell anyone, it's a secret. No, it's not. But she loves crisps. And when she eats lots of that stuff, she feels that she's less stable from that food. So definitely, I think sugar is probably the worst thing. And generally, my opinion is that just eat clean food. I love cooking food, and I think if you make food with just basic ingredients like potatoes, even though potatoes is also like a semi-fast carbohydrate, at least carbohydrates. But compared to eating like powdered mashed potatoes in a like a little sachet, and then you whip that with water, and then that's just like lots of ingredients. Or buying those pre-made meals. I mean, it's so convenient, it's so nice, and some of them are really good, but I just believe that it's much better, and I feel better, I can feel my mind works better when I eat clean and somewhat healthy food. Nadia, Martin, I tried to meditate in the ruins of Cistercian monastery near me. I can do it as there were so many visitors. Well, what about the visitors was it that made it difficult for you to meditate? Because and the monastery can be a very nice place to meditate. Places like that makes us feel calm. Kind of, I love meditating in churches, or just train stations, anywhere where there's a lot of people. I find it nice. But in the beginning, I had a lot of anxiety, worried that someone was going to look at me and think I'm strange. But that's perfect. If you sit there and you think, oh, people think I'm strange now, just look at the distortion and see like, hey, this is so silly. There's nothing strange about me sitting here with my closed eyes, and what does it matter anyway? And just look at these things that keep coming up, and just see that it's such a silly thing to do. If you think about that, how you were saying that, I had earlier today, I can't remember what it was, but it was something I was distorting towards, and I was talking to my fiance, and we were talking about death, and there was someone whose child had passed away, and I said, yeah, I've had quite a few times where I almost died. I had one time when I went to a Neely Donald Walsh retreat in Stockholm. Neely Donald Walsh wrote Conversations with God, and we were a group of people. We were laughing, we were feeling so good, like really high retreat high, and we were walking on like a what do you call it, where pedestrians pass, and I just took a step straight out into the road, and a person grabbed me and pulled me back, and there was a big bus that just drove straight by me, and I could feel it just kind of almost hitting me. If she wouldn't have grabbed me and pulled me back, it probably drive like, it's in town, so probably 50 or 60. I would have probably died or been paralyzed for the rest of my life. That was really close. I remember when I was in Mumbai I don't know if you remember this, but in 2008, there was in Mumbai, they killed like 180 tourists. They basically occupied a bunch of hotels and just shot people and chased them in the hotel rooms. I was with the girl I was traveling with in India, and we were just about to go down to Victoria train station, but I got such bad diarrhea, so I had to go out, and that was like 9:15. At 9 o'clock, they went in at VT station and started shooting with machine guns. When I ran home, I didn't know about that, and I passed a bunch of cars who drove up very quickly and like brake and then got out of the cars, and they kept walking with guns, like big guns. And I was like, well, this is so strange. Why are they walking here? And they looked at me and I looked at them, and like, what, are they going to ask me to stop, or because they looked like police or something? And I just ran by, and there was a group of terrorists who then went into to grab our hotel. So that was closed. I accidentally drowned myself in a swimming pool. My friend saved me. And if you think, and the reason I'm saying this is because if you think about how close I was to dying, and I've had more incidents like that, I'm very lucky, and we all have, in traffic, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens. If you think about, if I would have died, me worrying about someone watching me when I'm meditating is just completely ridiculous. Because imagine if that person hadn't grabbed me and pulled me back. Imagine if I would have stopped with those terrorists who walked by and said like, oh, am I okay? If I didn't have diarrhea and I walked with my fiance, oh my goodness, she was not my fiance, with my traveling girlfriend at the time, if we would have stopped and walked with her, maybe they would have taken us into the hotel and maybe we would have died. What if my friends wouldn't have watched me? And then when you think about that, the thought of worrying about someone looking at you when you're meditating is just like, it's just so dumb. again, I'm not actually sure if that was the reason you couldn't meditate, Nadia, but I'm just saying, when stuff like this comes up, it's good to see how silly it is to feel bad, how incredibly dumb it is to feel bad. I mean, it really is. Hey, Frozen, and let's see, Stephen. I talked to someone about joining a monastery for a couple of years, and he told me it is better to stay in society while doing spiritual practice because you learn from everyday reactions. But in monasteries, you are not being tested, so you grow a lot slower there. I don't quite agree with that. There are times... hey, by the way, Luna, I saw you now. There are times when you can grow so much faster when you're in a retreat. And imagine if you're in society and you're completely lost in doing the grind and like all these thoughts, and you think this is so important, then you're not growing at all. Well, you are growing, but it's very slow. Then going to a monastery would be incredible. It would be absolutely amazing. It would be light years faster than being stuck in this idea that I need to become successful, I need to do this, and if that happens, then I'll be happy. And all these things are so important. From like the comparison there, then going to the monastery would be very good. But if you already have a strong practice at home and you can practice at home, then you get tested a lot more. But if you're not able to handle the test with equanimity and not being completely pushed and pulled by the things happening, then it's a really good idea to go to a monastery. I'm just saying monastery. It doesn't have to be a monastery. It can be in the forest or whatever. And practice and learn to use your mind. So people tend to make, oh, this is better than that. But it all depends. Much of the Buddhist teachings, unfortunately, were like the things that have been popular are the teachings that the Buddha, or at least said that the Buddha taught to mostly lay people. And like those are the kind of things that we grab onto. Or, for instance, there's this idea that you always bow to a monk, and the longer they've been a monastic, you would always have to bow to them. So if I'm a monk and I meet another monk, you ask, how long have you been a monk? This is true. Like you ask him, how long have you been a monk? And if they've been a monk longer than me, then I bow to him. If he's been a monk shorter than me, then he bows to me. And the idea is that then if a rich business person should know that the monk is more important than how long time it's been as monk than the business person. In that idea, that makes sense. But after a while, it just becomes ridiculous, and there becomes so much hierarchy, worshipping, and it just causes so many more problems. So that little part has some good stuff in it, but the way it's being used, I think, is just, unfortunately, not very good. What would they replace it with? I simply don't know. There needs to be some kind of system. And I mean, I've seen monks who have been monks for a long time who are really, really not good people to be around, like good role models, some really grumpy monks. So it's not that it's better or worse to go to a monastery. It completely depends. Stephen, we should do a Vipassana retreat. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Go to a Vipassana retreat. I always recommend, even though I completely disagree with much of what Mr. Goenka says, I still highly recommend you to go there. What if you make it gifts? Oh, you mean with the taxes? Yeah, if you make it gifts, then that is okay, but I still have to pay taxes for it. And VAT. It's just Swedish tax law is really strict. If I earn $100, then first 25% is VAT. So when you calculate that backwards, that's 20%. So I have $80 left. And then of those $80, about 45-50% disappears to pay for my pension, to pay for government taxes, state taxes and stuff. So out of $100, I get to keep about $40. That's how much. $60 goes to the government. It's very high taxes. So I am hyperglycemic. So I have topped my sugar up 3 times daily. Didn't do it one day and ended up in hospital. Oh wow, that's obviously a separate case. If you have that, that sucks. Frozen, my metabolism is through the roof, so my unhealthy eating goes unnoticed from the outside, but wondering about the internal things. Yeah, and that's an interesting thought as well, Frozen, because a lot of people associate, and good for you, by the way, associate being thin with healthy, which is not true. I remember I was with, I had a girlfriend when I was younger, who she just had an incredible body. Like, she just could eat anything, and it just ate it up. And she worked as a model, and she just had this, like, it didn't matter what she ate. She could eat candy, she could eat sugar, she could eat, well, cream. I don't think you get fat by cream, but she could eat anything, and like, she would never put on any weight at all. And I was kind of like, I can't eat all this sugar, I can't eat all this chocolate. And because every time we met, she was like, oh, let's make some nice dessert. And it was just like chocolate cakes and candy, and like I can't eat this. I can't do it. So just because she's skinny doesn't mean that that's healthy. Luna, eating stuff like E621 is poison too. Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's what I meant. I believe in eating as much clean food as possible. I think it's more important to eat clean food than, I almost said healthy food, but than the right thing. Nadia, thank you, Martin. I think I was too distracted by all the visitors that time. I will try again. It is very peaceful and a historic place. Is it spiritually safe to meditate in this? Yeah, absolutely. Don't worry about stuff like that. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and I think when you start out, people are so worried about energies and being attacked by spirits and stuff like that. I wonder where things like that, I wonder if people just make that for themselves, kind of. I have meditated absolutely everywhere you can imagine, kind of. I meditated in like near brothels. I remember I was in Thailand, and there were like prostitutes all around, and I would just meditate there to see what that was like outside a brothel. Actually, all the bars, everything was like a brothel in Thailand. I meditated in cemeteries, I meditated in places where people have been killed, I meditated in like big public spaces, near prisons, near like... I think the main issue is that people start worrying about it, and then they start like getting these feelings, and they start creating all these things in their mind. But I've never had any problems with it. It's never been an issue with bad energies coming in. That doesn't mean it's safe to meditate everywhere. If you meditate somewhere where it's not safe, that's not a good idea, and you can absolutely get hurt if you go to the like bad places and sit down. But I don't worry about like people attacking you psychically or stuff like that. The only people I've heard who have brought up things like that have been people who, in my opinion, maybe weren't the most mentally stable. And also a lot of the people who talk on YouTube about those kind of things, when I hear them, I hear someone who has a lot of distortion going on. That doesn't mean they can't be spiritual, that doesn't mean they can be really good at meditation, that they can manifest whatever they want, but there's usually a lot of distortion going on. So I think people should focus more on themselves and just making sure that you're okay, and then where you meditate doesn't really matter that much. And if you feel bad, just go away from there. It's not like, yeah. Luna, move to Dubai, tax-wise. I would never move to Dubai. I can never see myself living there. Absolutely not. That is so not my place. Even though, and like I said, I don't mind the taxes. It might sound crazy. I am Swedish and I pay insane amounts of taxes, but Sweden is an incredible country. It's such a beautiful country, and there's so much thought about society as a whole. Like I said, unfortunately, the system is under a lot of strain, and it's difficult to keep it up. But Sweden really has... Take me, I was burnt out and that was 5 years ago, and I've been home a lot sick after that. But I'm coming back, and I don't have those kind of issues anymore to that same degree. And while I was sick, I got 80% of my salary. That's incredible. It gave me a chance to stay home for a few months, to really just do nothing and get back to myself, and then be able to get back to work. Otherwise, what would have happened? Well, I would have lost my job. I might have lost my family. Then I would have been divorced, and I might have gone out into the streets, and then maybe I would have become a criminal. I would have started doing other bad stuff. My child would have been without a father, and then she might have had problems about her upbringing, and my fiance, like, what would... It's just, if we think so shortly, it's just, okay, just take care of yourself and just screw everyone else. It sounds like, oh, that would be good, maybe, because then people should really, like, work harder and if they can't, but people don't understand when you feel bad, it's not really possible. Like, if you haven't felt mentally ill, then you don't understand what it's like. And I think it's really, if you haven't been depressed, if you haven't been burnt out, like, you can never understand that. It's like being a parent. People say, oh, I know what it's like to be a parent, being a parent, but they don't have children. No, you don't. You can never understand what it's like to have a child until you have a child. And it's the same with mental illness. And on a side note, I actually thought about this before. I was thinking of ultra-rich people. I'm like, what is wrong with them? Like, take Elon Musk. He is the richest person on the planet, and he spends so much time fighting, creating enemies, and just trying to wreck the whole world. And I mean, he doesn't seem to really care about anything. And like, why? You've won. Like, you can get anything you want. Why are you creating this much problem? Why not just enjoy life, create something that you enjoy, but like do it in a way, like, it just makes no sense to someone like me who or like normal people. Why would you fight so much? Why would you, like, if you have all that money, why not share it? I mean, if I had $100 million, I'd be like, how could I possibly spend $100 million? If I had $10 million, I could never need more than $10 million. Like, there's like, why would there's just no need for me to have that. So then it would be very natural. Even like $1 million, I would just start giving away money because I don't need it. And what I thought about is that, it's probably the same thing. Unless you've been mentally ill, you don't understand what it's like to feel mentally ill. And I think people who, not necessarily ultra rich, but people who are like that, I think that that's kind of the same. We can't think of them as a normal person because they have some kind of, I'm not going to call it mental illness, but they have some kind of need for something that most people don't. And so they satisfy that need by making more money or by getting more attention or by whatever it is. So instead of seeing it like, why don't they get it? Maybe it's we who don't get it, that they have, the same way that someone who's mentally ill, you can never understand that unless you've been mentally ill. I think it's a similar thing with these people who just can never have enough. Because that's not really a natural human trait to have that. Tax-wise, as long as tax money is used wisely, it's okay to pay. Yeah, exactly. And there's so much waste, and there are lots of stuff I don't agree with, but yeah, it's I still like it. Frozen, I sense a distortion with Dubai. Yeah, distortion. Not so much distortion, just I know people who live there, and I have heard a lot of stories, and I would not want my children to go there. Luna Club, I burn out now and get enough time, hopefully, to recover and not face financial... Yeah, exactly. Frozen. For sure, Musk has mental illnesses. Steven, success doesn't mean you're a good person. In fact, I feel like the more successful you are, the more distorted you become. Why? Why would you become more distorted when you're successful? I don't see that correlation. You have more potential to get distorted, but you don't have to. So Elon Musk is a Jetamoob addict. Oh, ketamine, you mean, right? I know I've done security for some of his A-list friends. Oh, really? I meant ketamine addict, yeah. Oh, okay, security. Oh. Yeah, I mean, there's... I'm not going to get into politics and stuff like that, but it's just for someone like me who just... I enjoy spending time with my children. I enjoy building. I enjoy being out in nature. I love talking to you. I enjoy just doing things that are like, just have fun. And I enjoy peace and quiet. I enjoy fast cars also, but I don't think I need a faster car or more stuff. It just makes no sense to someone like me why you would create that much problems for yourself. Like I said, when you've already won, like you won at life when it comes to like all physical things, financial things, it's just done. Why not take care of your health? Like create something beautiful instead of trying to pollute the planet, kind of. Megan Coxey. Hey, Megan. This is the first time I've seen your page and have no exposure to Buddhism, but heard something of the Four Truths. Could you share your perspective on those? The Four Noble Truths. Buddhism is not my... I mean, I am a Buddhist monk, and I talk about Buddhism, but I mean, I talk from a Buddhist perspective about some things. But if you really want Buddhism, I am not the right person. I lived as a Buddhist monk for 6 years, and I spent all of that time, as much as possible, meditating. And I found out that most Buddhist monks don't meditate. They live as more like priests or clergy. They spend most of their time studying the texts, but actually believing that you can become enlightened or liberated is something that most monks don't believe. There are a group of people who do a lot of meditation and who do that also. But when it comes to things like the Four Noble Truths, I think that's it's one of the core pillars of Buddhism. And let me see, there is suffering. I can't even remember them right now. Can someone help me? I'll see if I can talk about them. But it's like... I think there's a few things that are really universal to all Buddhist practices, because Buddhism is so different in different regions, and the Four Noble Truths are one of those things that really carry on through all of the traditions. But then, depending on what tradition you follow, they can be really different in how they view what practice is. If you go to Theravadan Buddhism, they believe more that it's your job to get liberated. It's you that have to do the work. And you have to practice, you have to refine yourself and fix your skills so that you become a better person, and then you can become liberated by your own effort. In Mahayana Buddhism, which is like, it's called the small wheel and the big wheel, according to Mahayanists. Mahayana means the big wheel. And what's the other one? Hinayana, they call the small wheel, Theravada Buddhism. So Mahayana basically believes that, well, you can never get enlightened, pretty much. But what you can really do is become a bodhisattva. And that's like just before you become liberated, you can hold back. And then you die and you come back as a bodhisattva. And then you help all the people. And then 100,000 lifetimes from now, the whole planet will become liberated as a group effort, kind of. Let's see, Megan Cox, yeah, there is dukkha, suffering, and there is an end to dukkha. Well-being, pathway of well-being, that's a different one. I think it's the 8... I'll have to look, like, I don't want to say something that's wrong now, but there's the 8-folded path. Would be the fourth one, and it's just like, it's quite basic stuff, but it's the core of the Four Noble Truths is that we are suffering, and when they say suffering, they use a word called dukkha. Dukkha was when you had a wheel that had an axle with sand in it, and when it was friction. This is what I call distortions or pressure, or some kind of friction towards reality. So when I describe it like this is your desire for reality, and this is reality. Your desire for reality is that you should have $1 million in your bank account. Your reality is that there's not that much money there. And when these two don't align, neither of them are a problem. Your bank account is what it is. That can never be a problem. It just is. Your desire is not really a bad thing either. Why not have $1 million? I mean, that's fine. The problem is this thing that happens in between. This is the friction. This is the distortion. So what we're trying to do is not change reality, and we're not even trying ultimately to change our belief. Or although there are lots of beliefs that can be better than others, but you can use the 10 Commandments, or you can use the precepts of Buddhism. It doesn't really matter. They're all like good stuff, most of them. Like, there's not really bad. Most religions have good precepts that you should follow, or good ideas that you follow. The problem is this here, and that's what Buddhism tries to focus on. Instead of changing the world to make you feel happy, they say you can get liberated, but everything contains this suffering. Everything contains this pressure. Even when you feel like there is no pressure there is still distortion, there's still friction. And the more you practice, the more you will learn how to view that suffering, and you will see that everything contains suffering. Unfortunately, Buddhism is quite old school in how it teaches stuff, and so they will say things like, oh, there is no beauty, because look at a hair. If you get a hair in your food, there's no beauty. What is beauty? It's like beautiful fingernails. Is that beautiful? Okay, my nails are not beautiful. Is this beauty? But if you pull one out, it's like yucky. It's like there's no beauty there. And when a body dies, it rots and it looks disgusting, so there's no beauty. I think that's completely misguided, and just like that was one of those things I spoke about before, that there are ways. I mean, that makes sense if you're super attached to your body and you've never really started looking at all these things. You're like, oh yeah, actually my body's going to die and I'm going to rot. Yeah, I shouldn't be so attached to this because this doesn't really exist for permanently. And you should get used to growing old. Like that's a really good thing to do. But that's just like beginning stuff. There's so much more. And having that belief creates a lot of other things, because now you start pushing against, oh, look at that person. They're dressing up and making themselves look beautiful. They're so bad. Oh, look at that person. They're not vegans. They're not eating vegetarian. But they're so bad. And then we start having all this suffering because of the thing that was supposed to make us stop suffering. So basically the Four Noble Truths in my wording is that, yes, everything contains this pressure, this friction, this distortion between reality and how you want reality to be. There is much more to it than that, but that is like the big things that you can see, and then you go down and that doesn't really apply. But still, that's the easiest way to explain it. And everything contains this. There is also a way to overcome this and to not suffer, and actually to see what I call is focus on your life experience, not your life story. Meaning, what are we experiencing right now through our senses, the world around you, without the story of, oh my goodness, I have nothing on my bank account. It wouldn't make any difference if I had $10 gazillion in my bank. If I had the money that Elon Musk has right now, it wouldn't make any difference in this experience. I would still be sitting here. I would still be talking to you. So the story is not important. The experience is what's important. And then the Eightfold Path is just the Theravadan Buddhist way of viewing how you get liberated. Which is also why I like the term liberated, because it makes more sense than enlightened, which has come to mean so many different things. I hope that was it was absolutely not a traditional explanation of the Four Noble Truths. And like I said, I don't know the exact wording for them, which is terrible, considering I was a Buddhist monk. But I never cared much for Buddhist scripture. I cared a lot for Buddhist practice. AA, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. Yes, that's actually I've studied the curriculum, or what you call it, from AA, and it makes a lot of sense from the perspective of distortion. Cool. So for those of you who are new, what we do is we normally have not this long of a chat. I was thinking it would just be like a short chat, but there's so many good questions, and thank you for asking that, Megan. It's like I said, I'm not Buddhist focused. I'm focused on helping people enjoying their life, whatever that may be. And you can call yourself whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. I think there's a lot of good stuff in Buddhism that can be used, but I also think there's a lot of bad stuff that just confuses people. And I think it's the same with any religion. There's good stuff and there's stuff that just is not really helpful from the perspective of enjoying your life and being a happy person. Because it's my belief that if you're happy, if you enjoy your life, you're not going to harm other people, you're not going to be a selfish person, and you're going to be a much nicer person to the world around you. Sue, sorry I gotta go. It's run over a bit. Have a good weekend, everyone. Oh, no problem. Sorry, Sue, I'm a bit late. See you next week. So, we chat a little bit, and then we have the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which I'll do a little abbreviated version today, where we say 5 things out aloud that we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. After that, we sit for 20 minutes. Today is Thursday, so there's no guided meditation. We just sit together, and then we try to finish at 9 o'clock, which I've already failed at miserably. So, you're welcome, very welcome. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. What we do is we try to come back to our senses, and we'll do it a little bit more briefly today than normally, but look around you and say 5 things that you can see, and really look for the details. So I can see a remote control, and I don't try to have an emotional relationship to this remote control. In other words, the story of what this is. I just try to see the light, the reflections, the curvature, the surface, how it curves around. This is actually a really beautiful thing to look at. I love how this is like a matte finish here. This looks really interesting. Just like a child would look at it. Instead of saying, oh, this is a cheap crap, like I know what it's for, just throw it away. No, really try to enjoy what your senses are showing you. So I see a remote control. I see a plant. I see a painting of, it's supposed to be me actually while I was a Buddhist monk. I'll probably hang that up here one day, that I got from my aunt when I was in Sri Lanka. I see a t-shirt. So many cool lights shining on that t-shirt. And I see a pair of headphones. That's 5 things that I could see. Next we take 4 things that we can feel. I can feel my beard. And I can feel that it's more stubble, like sharper here, and softer here where it's a little bit longer. Interesting. I can feel a plastic box. This is my daughter's set of pens. This looks really interesting, actually. And when you start really experiencing the world through your senses, everything becomes like, whoa. Kind of imagine taking a child and showing them neon lights. They would go like, whoa, look at those neon lights. But we go, oh, neon lights are so cheap. It's probably a brothel. That's like, we associate it with that kind of like cheap, dirty kind of. But a child would go, wow, that's incredible. Look at the lights, so wow. So we're trying to get back to that childish way of viewing the world. I feel my woolen sofa. And I can feel my teacup, and I can feel that the tea is not warm. Four things that I could feel. Next we take 3 things that you can hear. I can hear things banging on this office because it's blowing so much that the whole office is shaking. I can hear a fan in my computer. And there's lots of other sounds outside from the wind making things bang. 3 things that I could hear. Next we take 2 things that we can smell. I can smell a bit of sweat. And there's mint or something. Oh no, it's of course I was cutting, I have a pot with vegetables in my kitchen, in our kitchen, and it's, what's that called? Not cumin, a green leafy thing that smells really nice. I can't come up with a name now, but a herb. That's what I'm smelling. Nice. Next, finally, we take 1 thing that we can taste. I can taste rooibos because I just drank rooibos tea. feel free to keep on sitting if you want to, or I'm gonna drink tea just for a little while because I try to finish at 9 o'clock. It just gets too late for me otherwise. My mother keeps calling me, telling me I have to go to bed, so... Thank you for this eating too much. I hope everyone has a great weekend as well. If you're new to meditation, Megan, if you're still here, come Monday instead, because then we have guided meditation. It would be easier if you knew. Thank you too, Nadia. Nice. Yeah, let's just go to bed. We all need to sleep. I hope you all have a great weekend, and like we said before, think about the idea that you cannot enjoy life or be happy because of what's happening around you is simply not true. So really focus on enjoying this weekend, no matter what's happening to you, and think about how I had those times when I was close to dying. I'm sure you've had that too. Maybe you didn't even realize it. And if you would have, then whatever it is you're worrying about would have been completely pointless.